Hello, how's it going? This is Harold here, and I am here doing my first video on hiking and backpacking and things that fall into that category. Today I am going to go through my packing list just to see what kind of stuff that I have in my backpack and what I bring. I feel that I've gone out quite a few times now, dialed in a lot of my gear, and I just have somewhat a good level of knowledge of what kind of gear is out there, what's going to help you, what you need to bring on the trail, things like that. Second reason why I'm doing this video is just kind of to keep myself up to date on what kind of gear I have every year. So this being 2019, this is kind of the gear that I have. When the season actually ended, there were quite a lot of sales going on, and I was actually able to upgrade a lot of my gear. So this video is actually going to include all that. It's going to be all my gear that I have dialed in and upgraded for 2019 in preparation for 2020. I am not an ultra light backpacker. I try to keep my base weight under 20 pounds. And I think that that's actually a very reasonable amount of weight, not including your food and not including any consumables, as well as any luxury items. I do like to go in and take photographs, just landscape photography. So having said that, I do have to consider the weight of my camera and the lenses I bring and all the equipment that I bring, including tripods and everything else. So that is one consideration I have when I consider the weight of my backpack. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So first thing I have to show is my backpack, and it's actually an upgrade from what I had. This is the Osprey Exos 48 liter. So it's a 48 liter backpack. It weighs about 2.1 pounds, I believe, which is a substantial upgrade from the previous backpack that I had. I had MEC, that's Mountain Equipment Co-op in Canada, MEC branded Brio 60. So it's a 60 liter backpack, weighed about 5.5 pounds, so this is a substantial upgrade. Alright, and we'll go into the backpack itself. This is pretty much how I would pack the pack, so it's the easiest way to kind of take a look at what I have on the inside. So firstly we have this is a sit pad, very useful in many situations. It also practically weighs nothing. Normally I would have my flip-flops on the outside as well. They're just lightweight, very basic flip-flops that are meant to be used for camp shoes. It's very useful for after a long day of hiking. On the other side, I would normally have clipped to the front is bear spray. It's just generic bear spray. Living in Alberta and British Columbia, in the Rocky Mountains, bears are actually very common. So it's definitely a safety precaution that you shouldn't leave at home. What else do I have in the front? No, that's pretty much it. Move our way inside now. Let's see. Gloves. Gets cold at nighttime. And it's also just very useful just to have gloves if you ever need to handle firewood or anything like that and bring it to your camp. Compass, basic compass, weighs nothing, helps to navigate. I have just generic toque or a beanie or whatever they're called in your region. Once again, it gets cold at night, so always kind of bring that just in case. On the same side as the safety thing, I have air horn. It's meant to be used as a distance, as a deterrent. You would want to use this from a distance as compared to the bear spray, which is meant for up close or almost like a last resort type deal. If you keep this also in your tent at night, and if you hear rustling or something, you can always use this, and it's kind of gives you that extra protection. Take a look what else. So as you can see, most of the things on this outside pocket is meant for safety or things that you need to grab in a pinch. Next I have just a blade. It's a fixed handle blade. I think the brand is Fury. I've had this for a couple of years now, and it's just been helpful in any generic situation. And another note is, if you guys have ever watched any of the shows out there like Alone or Naked and Afraid, probably one of the top survival items people will bring is actually a machete or a blade or a knife. I have my Latom headlight. It's just a lightweight headlight I got from Amazon. Cost about $25 Canadian. Very good. And that's pretty much it for my outer pocket. So pretty much all those things that I said were meant to be if you were in a pinch or you had to grab it really quickly. It's there for easy access. On the flip side of the brain, there's another pocket that I keep things in. So we have these are just packing cubes from Osprey. I just got them. You can use these cubes for traveling as well. They are just meant to be lightweight, and you can hold things in a confined space, and it's very useful to organize your stuff. So next I have insect repellent. I think is very important in the region that I'm in. There's a lot of mosquitoes and just bugs out there. Rope, paracord. I've had this for quite some time now. Tie your bear bag up, just tie things down, put a tarp up, whatever you need. So I just always keep some rope. You never know if you're gonna need some rope. Just attach with the carabiner. Have a handheld flashlight. Technically I don't really need this, I just like to bring it. I'll probably be cutting this out of my pack pretty soon now that I have this headlight. Still trying to find a fine balance of what I want in my pack compared to its weight. I have just a spoon. This is from Tokes, it's a lightweight spoon. It's made of titanium, so it weighs, once again, like pretty much nothing. This is actually one of the upgrades that I got. I normally used a spork that I got from MEC, but I went full titanium this time around. Last but not least, I have my fire starter kit. There's multiple ways you can start a fire, and I feel that if one method fails, you can always rely on a separate method. So this is why I personally bring multiple ways of starting a fire. I just have a couple matches in there, weighs pretty much nothing. I got wet fire. That's really helpful, definitely in wet conditions or when it's raining. I've used wet fire to start fire. Just two of those. And I have my flint and striker as my last kind of resort of starting fire. This works very well. Not much to say about that. Once again, if you've watched any of these survival shows out there, one of the first things you really need to survive is a knife that I mentioned before, and also something to start fire with. Not to say that I'm a survivalist, you know, I'm a backpacker. I know that I don't need all this stuff, but it just gives me peace of mind. Last but not least, I have just aqua tabs in here. I just keep them in here because it's pretty easy to get them if you need them right away to, you know, filter water without going through your bag. Okay, so that's all I have for that outside brain part. So first things first, on the top I have my water filter. This is an MSR water filter. I don't remember the name of it. I've had this for many years. It's very useful. It's one of these pump water filters that you throw one end into the water and you pump water, and it circulates into your pump and then into your bottle that you connect on the other end. No issues with this, honestly. It's been great and I love using this. But the only thing that I don't like about it is that it's actually very heavy, and it's also pretty big, and it fills up a lot of space in the bag. So that's another thing that I'm actually going to upgrade. Sawyer water filters. Heard great reviews on them. Haven't tried it myself, but just the weight reductions is insane, and it does the same job. So yeah, Next, what I have up top is, I believe this is my toiletry bag, and it's kept near the top because toilet paper, you never know if you're going to need to use it. And there's a couple of other things I have in here. Hand sanitizer, because you want to use that after you have gone to the washroom. I keep it in a separate bag because this is just a little bit leaky, but it's like a small version, so it's perfect size. Toiletry bag, not sure if you can see it. It's very basic. I have an extra pair of contacts in there. I don't know where contacts. I have my contacts case and my solution, my toothbrush, and also my toothpaste. Once again, in a packing cube. It just keeps everything organized. It's very useful. I have my rain jacket. This is just a McKinley waterproof rain jacket. I've used it quite a few times this season now, and it's been very useful. It definitely keeps everything dry. But the only thing that I don't like about it is that it is a little bit heavier and it kind of doesn't really pack down that small. Alright, next I have my cookware, and that's kind of like the next level of the backpack. This pot itself is actually an upgrade from my old system. I got the Tokes 750 milliliter pot, and it was an upgrade from my previous pot, which was also pretty light, but it was only 500 or so milliliters, and I just wanted something a little bit bigger in case I wanted to make something for my dehydrated food at the same time as making a cup of coffee. I have my stove. It's a lightweight stove. I actually haven't used this one in particular out in the field yet. I used to use Esbit and Esbit cubes. It comes with a little stove in itself, and it was actually really lightweight, and I did like it, but what I didn't like was having to refill the Esbit every time. So with this system, I think this is the BRS replica. So got it from Amazon. It's super lightweight. It unfolds out, and then it screws onto your canister, which is really useful. So like I said, I haven't used this particular system out in the field yet, but I have used my friends, and actually I really like the system. So you have that, and then you have your pot, put your water in, put your lid on, and cook it. Of just a bake lighter. Didn't have the mini one just on hand, so I just threw this one in. And what I really like about these systems is that it kind of all fits into itself, and it's just very handy to have. I know these canister fuel ones are actually just very practical, and they, you screw it on and you turn it on, and you get fire, right? So this pot was also quite expensive for a pot, but for being titanium, and you get this really cool pouch, so it's a good system. So next we got, this is my clothes bag. So I just keep this in a dry bag, as most people should for their dry clothing. I have just an extra pair of socks, just darn tough. Sleepwear in here, which includes long sleeve synthetic. This is a pair of smart wool leggings, and this is the 260 merino wool square per square, whatever it is. Super warm. I've already worn it out, and it just retains heat like crazy. So this is what I would keep in this dry bag for when I sleep. Just hike in your clothes, and then you change out into this system once you're at base camp. Next I have my sleeping pad. This is the Ecotech Outdoors Hybrid series. It's the ultralight version. This is a fairly cheap one on Amazon actually, but it had many reviews, and I wanted to try it for myself. And actually, it does this job pretty well. It packs down really small for a sleeping pad. It's inflatable. A good sleeping pad is actually very important. I found that this one does a fairly good job. These are probably one of the things that I'll probably upgrade eventually, but for now it's pretty decent. And next we have just my first aid kit. This is honestly overkill pretty much, but I actually have, when I've gone through it and kind of reduced all the stuff that I didn't really need. So you have most of the stuff that you would probably use in here. Honestly, if you buy a medical kit off the shelf, a lot of the stuff that they provide is actually pretty unnecessary. I would definitely recommend going through your actual medical kit and taking things out, especially duplicates, because you definitely don't need 10 pieces of sterile gauze, for example. But what I have kept in here is, let's see, just some medical tape. I kept a sling because it can be useful. I did bring some gauze pads, so that's not too bad. I also keep my emergency blanket in here. That's the reflective ones. Apparently it retains heat very well, and you can use it to flag down people in case you're hurt. Just some of the nitrile gloves and some cleaning pads with alcohol. What I've added to it is actually moleskin, because I find that I get a lot of blisters when I'm hiking for a long time, and moleskin has saved me many times. Just some generic bandages. There's tweezers in here, and I think there's a pair of scissors, just bandage scissors. I know it's kind of redundant, like I could use my knife to cut things and things like that, but having it all in one spot, and it doesn't really add too much weight, is kind of convenient. I did buy this medical kit because it comes in this really nice pouch, and I do like having everything together and organized. Next thing is my pillow. This is just a basic Mech brand hair pillow. Once again, it's inflatable. It kind of goes in with the blue theme for my sleeping stuff, so I had it for many years, never had really an issue. So my camera ran out of batteries and I didn't realize it, so I just have to do the bit of the ending. There's only 2 more items in my backpack anyways, so the second and last one being was my tent. And I have here the Marmot Tungsten Ultralight 2-person tent. This one was actually an upgrade from my last one, so I've actually never used this tent before. I have done extensive research into it and read many reviews, and this is perfect for kind of the niche that I want to have it for. My last tent was actually also Marmot. It was the Limelight 2-person as well, but that one was 2 generations old, and it weighed 5.7 pounds. This one weighs about 3.5 pounds, so it is a major upgrade from what I had before, more than 2 pounds in weight reduction. And that's simply just the technology that has improved over the years, because I've had used that tent for about 6 or 7 years now, a long time, and it has never really failed me. It hasn't really ripped, and I actually did like the design of my old tent. So upgrading to this is really not new to me, but I can't wait to use it next season. And last but not least, I have my sleeping bag, and this one is the Mech brand. It's the Aquila 0 degree sleeping bag. It's filled with down, and it packs down fairly small. It is a little bit heavier for what you get nowadays, but once again, this is pretty much as old as my tent, which is 6 or 7 years, and hasn't really failed me yet. So the only thing I wish I would have done was get a sleeping bag that was rated a little bit lower, maybe -7 or -8 degrees Celsius bag, because I find that it does get a little bit cold with this one, simply because it's only till 0, and in the locations that I like to camp and backpack, it gets pretty darn close to there, even in the summer months. And this number is actually meant for the absolute limit of the sleeping bag, not for comfort level. Comfort for this bag is more closer to 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. But what can you do besides put on more layers and try and keep warm yourself, right? So, because I wanted to show you a couple more items that doesn't live in the actual bag itself, including my clothing that I wear and also some of the external equipment that I have. So first we have these Cascade carbon fiber trekking poles with cork handles. I got these actually as a present for my girlfriend. And I kind of showed her like all the stuff that I sort of wanted, and these ones were from Amazon. I've not really used trekking poles for most of my hiking career, but I'm actually super excited to be able to use these next year. I've only used these once outside, and so far I really like them, and I guess I am part of the club of trekking poles. But they are very useful, to be honest. Like if you ever had to do a river crossing, or just crossing something where you need a little bit more balance, these are very helpful. Or if you want to save your knees, these are also very helpful as well. And being carbon fiber, these are actually very lightweight. So next I have the gaiters, which are on the outside as well. These are the Outdoor Research crocodiles. I've only used these once so far, but I really like them so far. It definitely keeps your lower leg clean and dry, which is what most of the mud would come from. And last but not least, I have the clothing that I would wear while I'm hiking. So firstly, I have the Darn Tough socks. Used these the whole season so far, and they've held up really well. At first I wasn't really a believer of how well these socks are, and so far they've been good. I still do get a little bit of blisters sometimes, but it's just sort of an ongoing process where I have to figure out how to keep my feet dry and abrasion free, I guess. Darn Tough. Next I have an item that I added to my pack more recently as well. This is a Buff. I've used it maybe 2 months now, and I do really like the idea of having some sort of like either cloth or protection in your neck that was actually very useful when you're in a windy area or something like that. I've also used it as a bandana or something to cover your head when you don't want to be wearing a cap. And it's just in general just a very useful tool. Next I just have a polyester shirt where I wear when I'm hiking. There's nothing fancy about this. I think I got it at Winners for cheap, and it's just able to wick away moisture, keep yourself warm when it needs to, and yeah. And finally I have this hiking pants from Columbia, I believe, and I've had this for a couple seasons now. It's very lightweight, which I really like, because when you're hiking and when you're reaching with your legs, trying to go up a hill or a mountain, I guess, it gives you that mobility that you really need. They're also zippers on them, so you can turn them into shorts when you need to, which I have done many times. And the only grime that I have about this is that it is not waterproof. Well, it gets soaked if you're hiking in the rain, or if you even just sit down. Water gets through it, and that's kind of something I don't like about them. So on the list of things that I would probably get in the future, I'll probably get some level of water resistance hiking pants that are also very lightweight and also breathable. And lastly, I just have this cheap fleece that I don't always bring on my trips, only if I think that it's going to be cold, that I would really stuff this in and be able to keep myself warm, but that's sort of a maybe item. Oh, and one more thing that I forgot, just an Nalgene water bottle. I did mention that I was going to upgrade my water filter system, so once I do that, I'm actually going to get rid of this because it is actually pretty heavy, and I actually want to have a 2 water bottle system, as you're able to bring more water if you need to. This is just overall like really heavy, so probably go with a smart water bottle with the Sawyer setup, as I see most people do. Oh, and I almost forgot, I got this new Arc'teryx cap, and I really like it. It's really lightweight, and the material that it has is doesn't collect moisture. It wicks it away out, and I like the style of it, and the brand Arc'teryx is badass. And I almost forgot, but I have just a down jacket. Got this one from Costco. It's fairly cheap, but it's really lightweight, and there's a little pouch that comes with, and it packs down to the size of that. So that's pretty much what I would have with me when I'm hiking. That's on my Lastly, what goes in my pack, like I said before, I'm a photographer, so I love bringing my camera and going out to take pictures. So currently I shoot with what I have on that's filming me right now, and that's the Nikon D750. The lens I have been bringing so far is a 24-70. I'm actually going to get a different lens for next year. Definitely going to go smaller, so it's not as heavy as a 24-70. And I'm able to use a lens that is geared towards the type of photos I'm taking. I also have the Surai, I think it's like B022K tripod. That was also a new ad earlier this year. I really like it so far. I used to have the Benro, and that thing weighed about, I don't know, 4 pounds or so. So with the Surai, which weighs less than 2 pounds, I believe, fits down to pretty much a water bottle size. It's been a very great tripod. I've used it multiple occasions this season already. So taking everything into account, the weight of my backpack with everything in it, for its base weight, it weighs 17.31 pounds, which is a substantial decrease from what I had before, which was greater than 20 pounds. This also does not include anything extra that I mentioned before with my clothing, or like hiking clothing, or my poles or my gaiters or anything like that. So it's just the base weight of my backpack. If I were to include my extra things that I would take, such as my camera, everything all together with all my lenses, filters, the bag itself, everything together would be about 5 pounds. On top of that, that's why I like to keep my base weight as low as possible in order for me to be able to bring the things that I like. So that was pretty much all the gear that I had and that I use. I would like to thank you if you've made it this far. Please stay tuned if you want to learn more about hiking gear. I probably won't do too much extensive reviews on things, but I will touch on some tips and tricks that I've kind of encountered myself and that I've learned over the years.